Om Mahaganapataye Namaha. In this video, I'm going to be talking about tips that I've used to get more out of chanting mantras and accomplish the objective of chanting mantras, which is to tie your mind to the mantra. And this technique or tip will also help you develop your focus. And if you've watched my past videos, you understand that focus is almost as if a currency of your mind. The way that you spend your focus is what you will create. What you focus on, in other words, is what you create, or what you will be creating in the future. So, to get into this, let me jump right in by saying mantra chanting and the tip that it is. When you chant mantras, there are different ways to chant mantras. The best way to chant a mantra is to pull your attention and your focus into the mantra. The more that you can focus on the mantra, the more powerful effect that will create. To focus on the mantra, one tool that you can use, and I've discussed this briefly in a past video, but I want to highlight it in this video, is pulling your focus into every syllable of the mantra. And in doing this, you will find not only will the mantra produce more immediate and profound effects, you will find that it is easier for you to, throughout the day, pull your mind back into the mantra. And not only pull your mind back into the mantra, but able to focus on it even when you're seemingly scattered throughout the day. You have creating a neurology that is allowing yourself, or neural pathways, if you will, that is allowing yourself to effortlessly focus on that mantra. Now, it does take a little practice, it does take a little time, a little upfront effort, but in doing this consistently, you will be able to easily apply this no problem within a couple weeks if you go for it and really commit to it. So let me give you an example. Let's use the mantra Shrim Brzi. So I'll say the mantra and then I will explain what I'm doing. Shrim Brzi. Shrim Brzi. Shrim Brzi. Shrim Brzi. So as I'm saying the mantra, what I'm doing on an intellectual level, I am orienting my focus onto the sh, r, e, m, br, z. I am pulling my focus into each one of those syllables as they roll out. One way to do this is by putting your attention into your mouth, into your tongue, into your lips, and focusing and being aware of how your mouth is articulating the sound. Shrim Brzi. And in doing this, you will find a very you'll find it very easy to pull your attention into the mantra. And it's good to start out slow when you're doing the mantra chanting, for at least, say, a few minutes to really establish that link with the mantra. Now remember Patanjali's Samyama technique, which is made up of 4 stages, which is targeted to subtleize your mind, to pull your awareness from the conscious, gross level into the deeper areas, recesses of the mind, where thoughts are planted and sprouting from, rooting into, and growing, and then as a result creating. So the whole technique is about manifestation. It's about also essentially collapsing your mind with a thought or a mantra. The first stage of this is dharana, and that is the tying of the mind to the mantra. That is bringing your focus all the way into the mantra so that when you are sitting there chanting the mantra, thoughts are bouncing off of you. There is nothing else. Your focus is so intense on the mantra that you are fully in alignment with that mantra as you are chanting it. Nothing else is going on. And as the technique progresses to subtler and subtler stages, this focus also subtleizes into different stages as well. Now, I also want to say a very important thing is this whole manifestation, the whole samyama thing, it's all fantastic. And yes, it can definitely put you on the fast track. And I will put a link in the description of this video where you can join the course from Dr. Pillai and receive initiation of this. But with that said, if you just want to chant, chanting will also get the job done. It's all about consistency. It's all about focus. It's all about spending your mind, spending your focus in a profitable way. So create what I call is a cycle of power. This is a very powerful way, and what I have been doing personally, what I've been seeing fantastic results with. The cycle of power is basically this. Once you wake up in the morning, you go and take a shower, you put on fresh clothes, and then you go and sit down and you chant. And you want to do this depending on your schedule and depending on what your level of commitment you are able to put in. 1 to 2 hours. You can do for half an hour as well. You can start with 15 minutes and work your way up. Now, the best time to do this in the morning is in a time called as Brahma Muhurta. Brahma Muhurta means the time of Brahma, and Brahma here is the creator God, or the God of manifestation of the Trinity. Brahma Muhurta occurs, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it is 3 hours up until the sunrise. The sunrise here, this is all symbolic. Once you understand the hidden aspects of nature, the sunrise represents the creation, coming at the beginning of the creation, or the sunset represents the night, or again going back into the nighttime, which is the pre-dawn, or the unmanifest before the next creation. And so in the time of Brahma, or in the life of Brahma, for example, one of his days is equivalent to like millions of years of our time. It goes up steadily where you have the devas, or the gods. One of their days is equal to a whole year of human life. Half of the year is their daytime, half of the year is their nighttime. Similarly with Brahma, who is at a very, very high level, one of his days is millions of years, but the key here is one of his days represents the creation, and when his nighttime happens, the creation is destroyed, and there's a new creation. And every time he goes to sleep and wakes up, so it's a symbolic representation. So Brahma Muhurta is a time just before the creation manifests, where you're going to use the creative potency, which is the natural intelligence, the intelligence of nature. As the Siddhas talk about, they only do things at the right time because they want to be in flow and in tune with the natural intelligence, because they understand that whenever nature supports something, it's easy to make it happen. If nature is not supporting of something, you're working against the grain and it's not being supported to happen. So why not do everything when it's meant to happen and when nature is allowing it or enabling it or facilitating it anyways? So this is the concept of Brahma Muhurta. So you can either use just before sunrise or also just after sunrise as well. Whenever you have time in the morning, don't make it too complicated. I'm giving you additional tips for anybody who wants to really just go for it. This is some additional tips, but whenever it is, I recommend setting your alarm clock, waking up an hour to 2 hours before you have to get into your normal day. Give yourself a big buffer so you can comfortably wake up. You don't have to rush into your practice, and you can sit down and enjoy it. Enjoying it is very important. What do I mean by enjoying it? You will find that if you do this focus technique that I just gave you, you will derive so much pleasure from chanting that you will get to a point where you do not want to stop. That what I have to do personally is I have to set an alarm clock that reminds me that I have to stop chanting or stop meditating, so then go into the rest of my day. Otherwise, I will continue because it is so enjoyable. It is so pleasurable. You will find it so, and that's when you're really, what happens when you do this focusing, another thing that I've observed, is it's almost like your body turns into this echo chamber, or if you're familiar with, they build these certain rooms where they do like concerts, where the room is like a sphere, or it's organized to create a certain resonance. So when the music is playing, it's a certain like a fluid resonance that happens. It's hard to explain. Very pure resonance. And when you do this focus technique, you will find eventually, over time, and when I say over time, I'm saying maybe a week of committed practice, you can even, or less than this, you can start experiencing these effects where you feel like with your eyes closed, you are in tune with the mantra, where your vocalizing is very smooth. It's very in harmony. It's very hard to put into words, It's almost, the only way the best analogy that came to my mind is it's almost like your body turns into this perfect like feel or resonance chamber where you are in resonance and it just feels so good, and that's when you really become in tune with the mantra, and that's when you're starting to change. And I'm telling you, this focus technique, it's so simple, it's so practical, and it's so powerful. It works so well. Just go and try it. And after some time of spending on focusing on the articulation, pull it and then pull that sound into resonating and echoing in your brain, in your cranium. Just imagine like your skull is hollow, particularly your brain area, which is about your eye level around here. Focus the mantra into the area and just circulate that mantra. Just feel that mantra vibrating there. Shrim Brizzy, Shrim Brizzy. So what you do is you just feel your brain, and after you get good at that, then you start chanting the mantra. And what you're doing here is you're associating your focus, your intentional energy, which is on your brain, with the sound. You are merging that attentional energy in the sound. And it becomes very easy with a little practice, just like anything. Because we've discussed in past videos, what's going on here is, why you shouldn't give up is because you're rebuilding your neurology. So why you may not feel anything right away is because your neurology is currently not wired to do that. It is not set up or built for you to be able to feel these effects. You have to build that neurology, and it takes a little bit of time, and most of all, it takes consistency. The more consistent you are with your practice, the faster the results you will get. As Dr. Pillai says, the more you do, the more you'll be benefited. And I know for a lot of people, including myself, when I used to hear that, I would have a little bit of an anxiety because I always feel like I'm never doing enough. And what I'm suggesting to you is don't worry so much about that. Create a cycle of power. So let me finish outlining the cycle of power. So you start your day, you shower, get up, you do your thing. Don't get into your email. Try to avoid getting your email. Try to avoid getting into your day. Before you get into that, create a buffer time of an hour to 2 hours at least. Or you can do 15 minutes an hour. Whatever it is that you're not going to allow yourself to rush. I would say give yourself at least a half an hour buffer. That doesn't include showering and preparing. Half an hour meaning you're slotting on half an hour where you're sitting down at minute 1 and minute 30 your alarm's going off to remind you to get back into your day. So there's no rush involved. Give yourself at least that time to do your chanting in the morning. Now, the cycle of power continues throughout the day, where as you go out the day, as you're brushing your teeth, as you're driving in the car, instead of listening to music, you're chanting. When you're at your desk, whatever it is you're doing, whenever you have an opportunity, pull your mind back into the mantra. Keep the mantra playing as an audio in the background if you have that ability to do that. Continually bring yourself back into that mantra, and what you will find is, if you do this morning practice that I'm talking about, and if you apply this focus technique that I just shared with you, how much easier it is for you to go back into the mantra throughout the day. Now, during the day is so important because it makes up the majority of your time. So if you spend your day for half an hour in the morning chanting, but then you spend the rest, say 11 hours, 12 hours, 13 hours, fully scatterbrained, just bouncing from thought to thought and not managing your mind at all, what do you think is going to happen? Just think about it. It's not hard. We make it very difficult. It's just a matter of how we spend our focus. Our focus is a currency. You are buying the reality that you're living in. Whatever reality you're living in, you bought that reality with your focus or lack of focus. Typically what happens is we don't have the focus. We have to learn how to develop it because why? We weren't trained how to do this in school. Nobody taught us how to develop our focus. And as a result, we have a lack of focus. And the result of that, of lack of focus, is living a life that is a conditioned life. We are living in our givens. We are living in our tendencies, where we are simply floating down the river of our karma, which is our mindset, where nothing outside of a destination that we're already oriented to is going to change. In order to do that change, you have to spend your focus in a different way. In fact, I would say even more simply, I would say the majority of the problem is Not even what you're spending your focus on, but simply bringing your mind into focus, period. You will find that just bringing your mind into focus in general will quiet your mind, will produce a more powerful, more enhanced mindset. So focus on a mantra, focus on an archetype, focus on a symbol. Let's just stick with a mantra. That is the best and most productive way. Now, to finish the cycle of power, before you go to bed, before you end the day, you're also going to buffer out another period of time where you're going to do your chanting. You can also do meditation as well. I recommend doing this if you can. 1.5 hours up until sunset. This is a time known as pradosham. Pradosham is also the 13th moon, but pradosham is also 1.5 hours up until sunset and also a half an hour after sunset, according to Agastya, the chief of the Siddhas. Now, pradosham is some of the qualities or characteristics of pradosham is that it is a time when nature is supporting the natural intelligence, removing of karma. And what is removing of karma? It means changing your information. Remember, we talked about, Dr. Pillai defines karma as your mindset or your mind. And your mind we also defined as a collection of information or memory. So changing your information is very, very easy to do at this time of pradosham. And what better information to upload, if you will, than a mantra? Mantra itself is information. That's why the mantras are called as seed or bijas in Sanskrit, or seed sounds. Or you can also think of them in modern terminology as zip files. They are packets of information that when planted into your conscious or when planted into your mind and when they're able to take root into your mind, they unzip themselves and unlock into a diversity of different characteristics, intelligences, and abilities, skills. So use these mantras to update your intelligence. Pradosham is a time to do that, a great time. However, that is for people who are wanting to go on. Also, people have the time, so people may not have time to do that. If you can do that, just do it before you go to bed. I actually do a little bit of both. I use pradosham time to pour water and milk over a Shiva lingam. Shiva lingam is a form of your soul. It's a seed or soul. It's also an aspect of Shiva. Shiva is the archetype who facilitates the removal of karma. He is the destroyer transformer archetype. So what you're doing with that is you're invoking that principle through that idol or through that form or murti, and facilitating the removal of your karma. The whole pouring of the water and the milk, there's an alchemy to this. There's a science and a technology to this. It's not arbitrary. It's not a cultural ritual that is born out of ignorance or someone made it up. There is a technology to it. So you can take it for granted. By pouring water or milk over a Shiva lingam or any murti, a statue of an archetype that you are working with, is very, very, very profitable to do that. And then doing a simple offering to that, and then offering some prayers. So give this a try. Give this focus technique a try of pulling your attention into the mantra and, how do I say, restraining yourself from indulging in the monkey mind or the mind that's jumping over, because what happens after you do this for a while is you won't have to try so hard to do that. And I gave the example of Ramana Maharishi in a past video talking about this as well, where I won't go into that story now because this video is getting a little long, but you can check out my past videos to get that story and understand how changing your neurology over time will eventually culminate into the point where it's difficult to even pull in a thought. This is what Ramana Maharishi was talking about. So if you have any questions, comments, or feedback, I would love to hear from you. Please leave a comment underneath this video. If you liked this video or found it valuable, please click the like button, and also feel free to share it with others who you think would find it valuable too. As always, if you'd like to be notified for future videos, click subscribe and the bell notification button. God bless.